and welcome back to the third part of this webinar series for NABS about the mindset of the parent. My name is Charlie Wachowski, and thank you very much to those of you who have engaged through this, watching the videos and sending some questions to be answered. So I've had half a dozen questions that we're going to review over the next 20 minutes. These are questions that have been asked by individual parents, so you may find that some of the answers that we give, even though it wasn't your question, are going to be useful for you. The questions have been anonymized, so if you ask a really interesting question, your identity won't be revealed. So let's get stuck in and let's look at the questions that you wanted to be addressed about the mindset of the parent and also how it relates to our child. So here's the first question about different contexts for our mindset. Do we have a different mindset at home and at work? Well, Professor Dweck in 2010 said she recognized one of the early problems with her work was that she tried to encourage people to categorize themselves to be fixed or growth. And the fact of the matter is we are not one or the other. We are a blend of the two. There are definitely some areas that we're fixed and there's definitely some areas that we are growth. The divide is not as neat as work fixed, home growth, or the other way around. It could be. Often it's much more context specific and it's much more skill related specific. So for example, someone who struggles with relationships is likely to struggle with both professional and personal relationships. Someone who has got a really strong growth mindset, for example, about feedback, and they don't mind feedback or criticism, they probably won't mind it in most areas of their life. So probably some negative feedback from a boss is as manageable as some negative feedback from a friend or a neighbour. So yes, seeing that our mindset is different in different contexts is really important. Sometimes it does surprise us though, because we may find in an area that we feel more confident that we feel more resilient. So again, on this topic of feedback, we might think, in work I feel confident, I feel polished, and if someone criticizes me, it's water off a duck's back. Whereas as a working parent, if someone criticizes, even by implication, our parenting, we might really take that to heart. It doesn't mean we have got a fixed mindset, it means that we notice that struggle, that we notice that obstacle. So it's a good question, and my encouragement is start noticing and start observing, start seeing where your mindset is fixed and where your mindset is more open and more growth. The next question, very interesting and a challenging one. I've highlighted the word ingrained there. Ingrained, when you look it up in the dictionary, it talks about embedded, entrenched, stuck. And I think it's probably quite a nice way to describe it, that if we have got elements of fixed mindset, they are probably really, really solidly established. But it doesn't mean they're so ingrained that they can't change. Otherwise there'd be no point in any of this work. The fact of the matter is fixed mindsets are something that can be changed. Absolutely. So the person who gave this question, clearly going through the questionnaire, recognised some areas of fixed mindset and now is keen to push on. So I put together a couple of slides to help with some things, because it's definitely not a one size fits all here. The first thing to consider here is, where is my mindset fixed? So is it around a skill? Is it something I think I can't do, whether it is drawing or language learning or a mathematical skill or a creative skill? Or is it about a belief? Is it about, I think I'm not very confident, or my willpower is rubbish, or my concentration is poor, something of that nature. So identifying which of those is important. And then working out, is this a small problem? Is it something that is just a niggle, or is this a big problem? Something that is absolutely catatonic, stops me moving on. And then we can start thinking about our approach. So that's the first job of work. Here are some ideas. Definitely. Grab a little notepad, notebook, start noting down. Start noting down what you think, what you say, what your approach to activities are, how often you give up, how often you step back from an opportunity. Start picking up where these fixed mindset behaviours show up. And then that's going to give you a good pattern of whether it's mild or serious. Don't try and change everything all at once. With everything, just working on one thing at a time is really very important and helpful. If we can't mention or name a benefit from shifting a mindset, then we may not put in the effort. So, for example, working on our public speaking may give us opportunities to apply for different jobs, may give us opportunities to promote ourselves better in public. See what a benefit is. And then pick on a challenge that's like this or like that. Small challenge, perhaps it might be, as I know someone decided to learn how to roly-poly. It really bothered them, they couldn't do a roly-poly, and it bothered them that they couldn't model doing a roly-poly with their kids, so they got their children to teach them. And it was a great victory when they did it. Or a big challenge. Decides to go and give a presentation for 100 people, decides to learn to juggle, decides to learn to speak Spanish. A major challenge. Whichever challenge, A, give yourself the time to do it, and B, share your journey with someone else, particularly your children, because that can be inspiring. Any change, any progress, any putting down of negative beliefs is going to be empowering. It's going to be helpful. It does take time sometimes, and it can transform in an instant at other times. But knowing and having a specific strategy and approach to work on is really helpful. Very good question. Thank you for sharing that question. Now the next two questions are about our children. This question about praise. Well, praise is such a great question to explore. We have been bombarded ever since day one of being a parent, and probably before, to give praise to our children, to nurture them, to lavish them, to tell them how brilliant and wonderful and superb and excellent that they are. And that advice comes from a very well-meaning and very kind place, that we want our children to feel loved and we want to share that feeling with them. The problem is, it's the strategy. And praise, and unhelpful praise, often gives our children fixed mindset messages. So a couple of slides here to show what I'm talking about, what I mean. Praise that is unhelpful looks like this. If you watch Strictly, it's Bruno going, wow, amazing, fantastic, glorious, tremendous. I call these things badjectives. They're adjectives that aren't very helpful. They just are chucked out there. That we're evaluating. That's what we're doing. We're deciding how good they are. We're deciding how wonderful they are. And we're attaching a huge adjective to them. You're a genius. You're the best artist since Picasso, I've heard someone say to a 5-year-old. It's also disingenuous sometimes. Teachers often do this in a well-meaning way to encourage better behaviour than they're getting. When a child does something quite good once, having done something not very good 1,000 times, then lavish them with you're the most brilliant, you're the most clever, you're the most helpful. Children see through that. Children recognise that. And what we're trying to put over, this kindness, perhaps get lost in the message. It also, this type of praise also says you can't really change, you were born a genius, rather than you could become a genius. And it doesn't celebrate effort at all. So they've been writing about it ever since this book, actually, which I put on the reading list last time, Between Parent and Child. Chaim Ginott wrote this in the 60s, and he talked about don't evaluate your child with praise. He talked about describing. Describe, and describe genuine effort. Describe when they do something good, rather than I thought it was wonderful, it moved me, I was touched, but just I noticed, it looks like you did this. Our children are doing all sorts of incredible things at the moment during lockdown, and being able to say, oh, you laid the table without being asked, oh, I noticed you did that, thank you. That's a great thing, it's powerful, and they will stand taller for that. So describing and praising genuine effort is a really powerful thing. And there's something even further from that. My view is that we don't even have to think we are the arbiters, the givers, the offerers of praise. We can just engage with our child when they do something that you want to talk about. We can just ask a question. And asking a question says, I'm here, I noticed, I'm interested, and I've got time for you. My daughter draws all the time. She's forever giving me these lovely, beautiful pictures, and I never praise, and I don't even do the praising effort thing. I just ask questions. I sit down, I stop, I look at her, and I say this. I say, well, tell me about this drawing. And she talks. And then I might say, which was your favourite bit? Which was hard? What did you notice? What did you learn? And I sit there and I smile and I listen. And she thinks that I'm praising her. She thinks that I'm helping her say nice things, but actually she's just enjoying talking about these things. So, with praise, deal with it in this way. My encouragement, put down some of that other stuff, put down the you're wonderful, you're incredible, and pick up this and see what happens, see what difference the conversations are like with our children. If the occasional thing that slips out that says, oh, you're brilliant after you've done all this, don't worry, no fairies will die. It doesn't matter that much. But this is a really great way for our children to get the message, we have done something good and we can carry on learning and carry on developing. So that's praise. Good question about praise. And this question links to it. This question relates to that little quiz you did in the last webinar, all about what we say when a child doesn't do something very well, when a child struggles with something. And I wanted to unpick this a little bit. This go-to phrase, don't worry, you did well, it comes from a kind and a well-meaning place. But there are a couple of assumptions that we're making. Firstly, we're assuming that the child will feel bad if they didn't do very well, rather than see it as a learning opportunity. Not everyone feels terrible if they don't score very well. And the second thing is this strong implication here that they couldn't have done any better. You tried, it was good enough, you couldn't have done any better. The fact of the matter is we can always do something better. We can always do something differently. And rather than giving a platitude that says don't worry, let's give them the opportunity to explore. Yes, let's empathise. Let's say, oh, you're upset, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're disappointed. I understand that. And then maybe later on, let's talk about it. Let's say, so what did you learn from that? What did you notice? What was hard? What might you be able to do next time? What do you need some help with? Because suddenly we're moving it away from us evaluating and us from a kind place rescuing them and protecting them from a difficult feeling, but we're also giving them an opportunity to hear this message, which is, I can develop, I can learn, I can change. I find it really sad, and I hear this a lot when a child says, I did really badly, I'm so stupid. What we want them to say is, I did really badly then, I need to find ways to learn this. I need to learn this different thing. Because if they did badly at something, there's an opportunity for them to learn. And as skillful parents, we can help handle this. Thank you for that question. The last two questions relate very specifically to the times we're living through with the virus, and I'll do my best to make a mindset link to them. So, switching several times a day here, work, childcare, work, childcare. I think that there's three areas we can focus on. Firstly, ourselves with our work. We are working in really bizarre, unusual circumstances, and I think we have to have a really big growth mindset to say we can still work just as well in strange conditions. Laptop on our knee, half an hour instead of an hour, not having cleared down all of our emails before we start working, we can still produce something that's good enough. Secondly, we can be more robust with our employers. I think our employers will all be understanding, but we can be very much saying to our employers, I'm doing my best, and you may have to wait. It may take a bit longer. It's not going to be substandard, but we can't manage everything. And then finally, our children. I think we can send them a message that says, we are helping you be independent in a positive way. We do need you to be on your own a bit more, providing it's safe. We do need you to be able to crack on and get on with things and maybe help us out a bit. And we're doing this because we think you're ready. Yes, there's a need, but we think you're ready. Celebrating positive independence is more powerful than giving them negative independence, saying, well, you have to, we're stuck. It shows we think they're ready, and it shows that we appreciate them. And we need to be in our office working for our half hour or hour, not worrying all the time about our children. If we sent a good message to them, and then we go back and we acknowledge their effort when we've finished, that can be really helpful too. Helpful question. And here's the final question, which relates partly to this period now, but also I think generally the question that we worry about as parents: screen time. Too much screen time. We know research says too much screen time is too much screen time. It's not good. But also we know here we are in crisis times, we are in difficult times, so we need to be a bit mindful of that. And secondly, there are ways to mitigate them watching lots of TV. And here are a few. Firstly, trust that they can be using TV as a learning and as a helpful learning experience. Whatever age, whether it's CBeebies, whether it's David Attenborough documentaries, whether it is watching entertainment but remembering things. Trust that they can get some learning from it. Secondly, we can set our children tasks sometimes. You know, when they're watching telly, say, yeah, of course you can watch some telly, but have a look at, listen for, count how many times they, or whatever is age appropriate, so that they're engaged in it with a bit of learning. And thirdly, and most importantly, I think, is have a conversation about what they watched. Every day, every couple of days, what did you watch? What did you like? What did you learn? How would you have made the ending different? Whatever it is. That although during the telly time, the IT time, maybe it's passive over there, when they're back with you, actually it's not passive, it's active. They're back into having it as a part of dialogue. If you can, occasionally do a bit of telly watching with them, sit with them, set them off before you have to slope away to do your little bit of work. But certainly don't see telly as a necessary evil, see it as a possible opportunity to continue with the learning. So they were half a dozen questions asked by you, fellow NABS colleagues, for things to help, things to deepen and embed your understanding of this mindset work. I'm very glad that there's such detailed and such deep thought questions, because it shows that we're out there taking this mindset work seriously. My encouragement is learn more, understand more. You know, I probably have 1,000 documents on my computer from all the work that I've done in schools and with parents. There's many things out there about mindset. The most important thing, I think, is believing that we have the capacity to change, and believing that our children also have the capacity to change, and taking that journey gently, in a kind, empathetic way towards ourselves, but also towards our children. And change as much as you want, change as little as you want, challenge yourself as much as you want, challenge yourself as little as you want. It is up to you. To see that where we are at in our lives is absolutely fine, but also to have an aspiration to put on is a really nice and healthy balance. You'll see from this final slide that NABS offers plenty of other things that you can do to support you in your development, in your parenting, so please do draw on those resources. If there is anything more that I can do in your learning about mindsets, get in contact with me via NABS and I'll be very happy to help. But enjoy your mindset work, enjoy your parenting, keep well and keep safe, and thank you for getting engaged in it.